Tonight, SA Power Networks explains why so many residents in Port Augusta have been without power. And the cruise ship season begins in Port Lincoln, bringing thousands of tourists and millions of dollars.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Port Augusta residents have been left unimpressed over a series of power outages that have plagued parts of the town in the last month. SA Power Networks says bird activity and work on the town's substation could be the reason why, but it's now working towards a resolution.
Frustrated locals in Port Augusta have had their power cut at least 5 times since the beginning of November. SA Power Networks says it now has answers.
We actually monitor our reliability of feeders, and where we see repeat interruptions occurring in a location, we look at how many are occurring, what the causes are, and look at solutions and asset assessments.
Intense storms last week saw 800,000 lightning strikes recorded across SA between Wednesday night and Friday morning, which led to 2 outages.
They're all unrelated in that they've involved different causes and locations. 3 involve bird activity and 2 involve lightning strikes.
The company says it's now conducting a pole-by-pole inspection of feeders and is considering installing animal guards for the 3 locations commonly affected by birds.
Yesterday we had an asset inspector up in Port Augusta, and they're there again today inspecting the lines and feeders that supply the people of Port Augusta to identify any issues that may be involved in outages for customers. So we've been monitoring this for a couple of weeks, and we've had an asset inspector up there as part of that process.
SA Power Networks also says the reason why the same group of customers have been affected each time is due to work on the Port Augusta substation.
We've had to tie 2 lines together. That's why every time there's been an incident, it's affected that same group of customers because they're all sharing the same supply.
It's an endeavour it's hoping to have completed by Christmas.
We're looking at whether we can at least separate, because of the network configuration, we can help separate the businesses on the main highway so they'll be separated from the other supply, so at least we can ensure that supply a bit better.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
A Senate inquiry has led to the government banning the use of some pelvic mesh products. 5 Port Pirie women who reported serious complication following the use of mesh have welcomed the move. Rachel Nell explains.
Doing more harm than good.
At present, so it's the POP meshes, so the large ones for the pelvic organ prolapse, and also the single incision mini slings are the ones that have been banned from the 4th of January.
In August, Kim Blisky from Port Pirie attended a class action to give evidence of the chronic pain she suffered at the hands of a pelvic mesh implant.
This is what we've been lobbying for about the last 3 or 4 years. But the problem is all pelvic meshes are dangerous, and at this stage the suburethral slings are not banned, and there's still thousands and thousands of women that have had them implanted.
I'm pleased that we've actually got some movement on banning of mesh. I've seen what it's done to Kim's life, and I've seen what it's done to other women that she's met.
The Australian Pelvic Mesh Support Group has grown from 300 members to more than 1,500 in just 1 year. 5 of them live in Port Pirie. Victims of pelvic mesh are now calling for more action to be taken.
The SUI tapes and meshes still need to be suspended pending a further investigations, because I still believe and I know that it's still causing damage to thousands and thousands of women.
The group's also calling for a surgeon who specialises in removing pelvic mesh to be based in Australia.
It's caused all sorts of pain and nerve damage in me. In 2016, in January, I travelled to the United States to have that mesh removed, because there's actually no surgeon in Australia that can remove the type of mesh that I have.
It's a debilitating pain that she lives with every day, and that changes her interactions with us as a family.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
The local Broken Hill Football League has had its push to secure over $1 million of funding to upgrade the Jubilee Oval knocked back. Councillors voted against assisting AFL Broken Hill as it pushes to host AFL pre-season games at the ground.
A great chance mowed down by councillors. That's the view of passionate Broken Hill footy supporters. At last month's meeting, AFL Broken Hill looked to council to chip in $50,000 for an upgrade to the city's main footy oval. Peter Nash was chairman of the league for the past 5 years. He says there have been a number of applications made for $1 million plus funding to no avail.
They asked you the same questions about 10 times, so it's a very involved, complex document that you have to submit. But from what I'm led to believe from the current chairman of the Football League, the New South Wales government are giving very strong indications they will support.
To the dismay of Oval management, at the recent meeting, Labor councillors voted against potentially investing $50,000, saying the motion was brought on with little notice. At a deadlocked 5-5 vote, the town's mayor had the final say, siding with the no camp.
The Jube has been getting band-aids put on it for the last 50 years. What it needs is that one-off huge investment to improve our facilities, to improve the change rooms, to improve the lighting, to improve the ground.
Mr Nash says it's a glass half empty mentality to have, given the Jubilee Oval is self-funded by the league.
So it's had no impost on the City Council for this one-off request for $50,000. And I've stressed that it's only if the New South Wales government ultimately come to the party with their $1.5 million plus. It's just too good an opportunity for the Broken Hill community or the Broken Hill City Council to sort of to not jump on board.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Well, the first cruise ship of the season has graced Port Lincoln. Nearly 2,000 passengers disembarked the Pacific Jewel for an experience on the Eyre Peninsula before they make their way to Adelaide.
With a walk down the plank, a handshake from the mayor and a jazz number or two, passengers aboard the Pacific Jewel received a warm welcome to Port Lincoln.
The town really has a buzz and a vibe to it on cruise ship days.
Thousands of excited travellers ready to explore the region.
We're going to go to the Big Ut and Microbrewery.
Del Giorno's.
Fishing's good. I couldn't pack my fishing rod, so it's a bit of a shame.
Others were just happy to be back on land.
Bit of seasickness, but other than that, it's pretty good.
The guests were greeted by 60 volunteers as part of an award-winning welcome program.
It's a great initiative that the community have taken on board, and we try really hard to make it a special landing for them.
Because a lot of them get off the ship and they want to know where they can get oysters and where they can get seafood.
The growing cruise ship industry means Port Lincoln is set to host upwards of 20,000 passengers during the upcoming season, injecting millions into the local economy, bringing new tourists to the region.
You hear people say that they wouldn't go to Kangaroo Island or Port Lincoln otherwise.
I've heard it's a lovely little town. Looks pretty good now.
Although the Pacific Jewel will be the last cruise ship to dock for 2017, next year will be a bumper season, including 2 cruise ships arriving for Tunarama.
It's wonderful for the Port Lincoln people and the economy.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
After the break, the local car dealership hosting a workshop in a bid to reduce the car knowledge gap between men and women. That story next. A boat next to the closed Port Augusta T Jetty isn't what you might think. The Port Augusta Council has called on Whyalla Diving Services to conduct an inspection of the troubled T Jetty. Divers are inspecting the condition of the piles, cross ties and underwater brackets in a bid to see what can be done. Council says it will use the information gathered from the dives to begin a tender process for restoring or rebuilding the jetty. The inspection will continue until tomorrow. A workshop held in Port Augusta to empower local women to learn about the operation of their cars has been hailed a resounding success. The class delved into all car tips and tricks, from checking a fuse to changing a tyre, all in a bid to close the car knowledge gap.
Engine, tyre pressure and oil filter know-how isn't just for the boys.
It's unfortunate to say that in the delivery process, a lot of male-dominated sales areas will leave women out of the conversation. This is not a good thing, and it's unacceptable today.
Peter Coman runs the Augusta Motor Company. He says there's often a stark difference in knowledge about vehicles between men and women.
It's traditionally been expected that the male of the family will look after these things, and in a changing community where women are more empowered to do things, we'd like to refresh their memory on how they can get out of trouble if they blow a tyre on the side of the road. If their car needs to be towed, where's the right points to tow it from?
25 participants took part in the community workshop, which showcased a range of different topics.
We've got fluid levels, understanding what the fluids are, why you should check them. There's one over here for electrical systems, how to change a light bulb, how to change a tail light, what your fuse box looks like, the map on the top of the fuse box.
All involved noted some important tips and tricks for changing a tyre. Weak arms, no problem. Foot power is another way to loosen tight wheel nuts.
And when you pull the tyre off, you should put the old tyre under the car, because otherwise it can fall on top of you. And I learned how to put air in the tyre, because I didn't before.
Heavy tyres can be put in place using your feet.
I think physically there's a way around things. It will probably take a little while longer than most, but yeah, you'd get there.
This clogged up engine highlighting the importance of why you shouldn't skip a service.
People, sometimes they for all good intentions, they'll leave that service go and they think, I'll catch it up the next one. Oils disintegrate over time. That's why we've got a station there for checking the different oils that are in the engine.
Those involved say they'll feel more confident on the road.
Listen, I didn't know nothing before. I just rang up my son. I wouldn't have to anymore, I can do it all myself.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Port Lincoln police are ramping up operations to catch drink and drug drivers. Nearly 120 motorists have been caught over the limit this year, including 2 drivers just this week.
A blunt warning to those who get behind the wheel under the influence: you will be caught. Port Lincoln police are stepping up patrols and drunk drivers will be firmly in their sights.
We'll be targeting those people that we suspect of drink driving or taking drugs and driving.
A continuing trend of those flouting the rules, including a man this week who was allegedly 3 times over the legal limit, has forced police to up the ante.
Removing drink drivers from our roads is one of our focuses. This year we are 50.1% ahead of our testing regime.
Police have tested nearly 20,000 drivers in the last 12 months, 114 of those charged for being over the limit. Police say it's not good enough.
That's 114 people who have put the welfare of their family in jeopardy.
A spike of those drug driving has forced a crackdown, with patrols testing more motorists for illicit substances than ever before.
The saddest thing of all is that 69 of these people have tested positive to driving with drugs in their system.
With Christmas just 20 days away, police are urging the public to make arrangements if they plan to drink.
Why would you subject your family to missing a loved one at Christmas?
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, the Silverton Hotel earns itself the reputation as the best bush pub in New South Wales. Details next. This year's South Australian Ride for Sick Kids has raised over $300,000 for Ronald McDonald House charities. Over 21 riders set off from Broken Hill last month on a 7-day journey to Adelaide, which saw them pass through Mildura, into the Riverland and down through the Barossa Valley. The riders finished $50,000 over their fundraising goal of $250,000. 4 riders from Broken Hill took part in the 1,000-kilometre journey. The Silverton Hotel has earned the title of the best bush pub in New South Wales. The owners say it was an honour to be recognised and were blown away when it was revealed.
An impressive piece of silverware to cap off a great month for the iconic Silverton Hotel.
To be acknowledged by our peers to win this award, I don't think we could ask for a better result.
The Best Bush Pub was a new category introduced into this year's Australian Hotels Association New South Wales Awards, recognising those outback establishments who do it a bit tougher than their city counterparts.
We basically told our story of how we operate this hotel and how we go about doing things through the whole operation of it, and obviously they were pretty impressed with how we go about doing it.
It wasn't the only piece of silverware Peter and Patsy picked up in November. At this year's Far West Business Awards, they walked out holding 3 new additions for their trophy cabinet.
Well, we won the Tourism Award, the Hospitality Award and the Outback Spirit Award, which blew us away.
It lifts the benchmark now, and now we've got to keep trying that little bit harder to keep it there and keep improving.
To do just that, they'll be holding the inaugural Silverton Sunsets Music Festival in February, to kick off what will be a milestone year for the pub.
We're also going to celebrate 100 years of operations in this hotel in 2018.
So
it's going to be a year celebration, and we're in the process of producing a book of 100 years of this particular hotel.
The booklet will be released early next year. In Silverton, Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Port Pirie has received funding from the state government to immortalise part of the town's history. A sculpture will be built to honour those who came together to construct a playground in just 24 hours.
marking a momentous occasion in the history of our city.
We're hoping to get an interactive sculpture, so rather than just a memorial, a sculpture that kids can climb over and enjoy.
$9,000 to do a design or get up to suggested design sculptures to commemorate the centenary of what was a great thing for Port Pirie.
This sculpture will symbolise the hard work of the community who came together to build a play space for children living in Port Pirie in just 24 hours, almost 100 years ago.
In the 17th of August 1918, there was over nearly 2,000 workers or people from Port Pirie and the surrounding areas came into this behind us here and created a magnificent playground in one day.
We recognise the centenary, but really the power of community coming together and to deliver such a great outcome for the kids and the people of Port Pirie.
While the playground was closed in 1935 due to safety reasons, the duo says it's important to continue Port Pirie's tradition of remembering important moments from the past.
Some of these items here may have become unsafe and things like that, but behind me there's the entrance gate there, and the wrought iron gates are still on there. These are the original.
The aim is to have the sculpture designed and in place for the centenary, which was in August next year.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Stay with us. After the break, we'll have all the local weather details with Abby Donaldson. And Abby, we're going to see temps warm up across the region.
Yes, that's right, Fraser. It's looking like a gorgeous summer day tomorrow before a burst of showers. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Taking a look at the weather now. It was another cooler day across the region with temps hovering around the low to mid-20s for all centres. We did see some lovely sunshine, however. It hit a top of 24 in Port Augusta and Port Pirie, but a cooler max further west, reaching just 20 in Port Lincoln. On the satellite, patchy cloud over southern parts of SA with onshore winds is bringing virtually no rain, which is a relief from last week's weather. Skies are clear over north and central parts under a ridge of high pressure. On the waters tomorrow, southeasterly winds shifting southwesterly between 10 to 15 knots, seas up to a metre with a south-southwesterly swell. And sunrise is just after 6 a.m. tomorrow with sunset just before 8:20. And it finally looks like summer for the region tomorrow. Plenty of sunshine in Port Augusta, heading for a top of 30 degrees, warm in Whyalla, 26 the top, slightly cooler further west, just 23 the top for Port Lincoln, a gorgeous day for Corn, and 26 the top in Cleve and Kadina. Looking ahead, after some gorgeous weather for your hump day, we will see a burst of rain and wind about on Thursday, as well as a drop in temperatures. Just 19 the top for Port Lincoln and Cleve. But the good news is that sunshine will return for Friday and the weekend as temps slowly rise into the mid-20s. Sunny and 26 the top in Woodna by Saturday. Further up the Gulf, after a warm day on Wednesday, scattered showers will sweep across the region on Thursday. Conditions should be clear for Friday, but temps will remain quite cool. Just 21 the top in Whyalla to end the working week, but the mercury will rise for all centres on Saturday, looking like a lovely day there. And finally, a similar story here. Showers will creep in on Thursday, but will clear up to nice sunny conditions just in time for the weekend. Broken Hill will enjoy a warm 29-degree day on Saturday. So Fraser, it's finally going to feel and look more like summer for the weekend.
That's good news. Thanks, Abby. And that's all from the newsroom for now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fraser Goldsworthy. Good night.